Okay, sorry, but the audio didn't come on. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good afternoon, good evening. Hindi ko na po alam kung anong oras ninyo ako napapanood. We don't know what part of the world you are because Facebook, YouTube, as well as Cignal TV airs us nationwide and globally. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you for those of you who are subscribers of Cignal TV and viewers of One News PH, particularly Agenda on channels 8 and 250. And like I said, you can watch us and our replays as well on YouTube primarily and on Facebook. Okay. Now, it's a Tuesday, March 15, 2022. And today, you will be greeted by the oh my gas. Hindi na nga oh my God eh. Oh my gas, ang taas. Ang taas ng presyo ng crudo at gasolina. And our topic for today is related to that because many of you have finally been allowed, have been given your liberty, have been given back your freedom to travel. Okay, and you have been planning to go to Sagada, to Apari, to Baguio, to Zamboanga, to wherever. But unfortunately, now that gas prices, fuel prices, even for airlines, are so high, it has become almost unaffordable. But be of good cheer. Have faith, little ones. Mayroong tayong paraan because today, that is what we are going to talk about. How do you reconcile high fuel prices and hotel charges, etc.? Meron pong solusyon. A very enterprising gentleman will be joining us and he will talk to us about what he and his friends have done. Actually, this gentleman, pamangkin ko na ito. Not by blood, but essentially parang pamangkin ko na. You know you are old when once upon a time, you used to talk, do business, or interview the father, and now find yourself interviewing the son. We will be speaking with Joel Conrad Pedro of Overland. Overland nga ba yun? Oh yeah, Overland Kings, and he will be talking to us about automotive camping. Ako na gumawa ng salitang yon kasi baka hindi nyo, baka sabihin nyo masyadong social pag ginamit ko yung ibang term. Kumbaga camping on four wheels, okay? Noong panahon namin, ginagawa na namin yon. Meron akong 1970 model o 71 model na Land Cruiser ng tatay ko. Magdadala kami ng tent ng Boy Scout, yun na yung camping. Ngayon po, iba na. Social na sila. They have come up with new equipment, new technology, so much so that even the women who always used to say, it will be a cold day in hell if I go camping with you guys because there are snakes, there are bats, there are bugs, etc. And saan ako magbabanyo, etc. Pero hindi na po ganun yan. Saucy na sila. But we will talk about that later. Let's first go to our daily starter. And from author Steve Maraboli, our daily starter is, as I look back on my life, I realized that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better. Ulitin ko, no? As I look back on my life, nung aking magmuni-muni sa nakaraang buhay ko, I realized that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, bawat sandaling inakala kong ako ay tinanggihan o nila inalisan ng isang bagay na akala ko ay maganda, I was actually being redirected to something better. Okay? And I think our daily starter for today makes perfect sense even with our topic, because many of you might be thinking, ayan na, we can't travel anymore, we can't afford to go on vacation anymore. But that circumstance is now leading you, courtesy of Agenda, the TV program, to discover another way of doing things. Ayun po, no? At kung kayo naman ay yung mga bigo, sawi, I would suggest you look for the song of Garth Brooks, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. Kasi yun po naman yung kwento nung meron siyang babaeng TL siya in high school. Gusto niyang mapangasawa at sabi niya kay Lord, Lord, pag itong napangasawa ko, perfect na buhay ko, happy na ako. And years later, nung nagka-high school reunion, nakita niyang yung magandang-maganda, hindi na kasing ganda. At nung nakita niya yung asawa niya, mas maganda. Sabi niya, thank God for unanswered prayers. Okay, baka naman meron ako bumanat sa akin dyan. Punta na tayo. Let's go to the Philippine Star for today's edition of the Philippine Star and the front page. And ayun na po. Oh my gas, ang taas. Okay? The front page of the Philippine Star, if you would, direct, put it up on the screen. Diesel up by 13.15. Gasoline by 7.10. Okay, ulitin ko. Diesel is up by 13 pesos 15 centavos. Tumaas po ng 13 pesos 15. Hindi po yan yung kabuang presyo. Yan lang po ang tinaas from yesterday to today. And in the meantime, gasoline went up by 7 pesos 10 centavos. Okay. And gusto pa po ba ninyo ng part 2? Ngayon daw po ay nasa mga 120 something na per barrel ang crude oil. Pag umabot daw po yan ng $130 per barrel, nako po, baka magbabayad na kayo ng 90 pesos per liter. Okay, yan yun po yung sabi ng isang opisyal ng DOE. So, oh my gosh, ang taas. DOH, Alert Level 1 likely to be extended. Ayan na po ang sinasabi natin, the DOH, the IATF, etc., etc. Hindi sila magkaintindihan. They can't get their act together because while many people want Alert Level 1 all right, that will only be for Metro Manila. Outside Metro Manila, hindi magkaintindihan kung magkakaroon tayo ng National Alert Level 1 status because maraming mga kesyo-kesyo, mga requirements, must be vaccinated numbers, etc. So sa Manila, Metro Manila Alert Level 1 will be extended. So yung mga nagsasabi ng Alert Level 0, parang mali kasi meron bang alert level 0? Eh di walang alert level. Okay, so wag na lang pag-usapan, di ba? Anyway, PNP launches Drug War Endgame. After launching their Overland double barrel sometime in 2018, okay, if I'm not mistaken, 2018, the PNP, courtesy of Chief PNP Leonardo Carlos, has announced that the end game or yung kanilang last 2 minutes sa PNP drug war will now be called ADOR, Anti-Drug Rehabilitation and ano ba yung tawag dito? Kumbaga rehabilitation and education. So matapos mapatay lahat ng mga drug dealers, drug user, etc., magtatayo na adoration chapel na siguro. I'm just being funny kasi ang hirap po nito, pinagpapatay, tas ngayon education. Anyway, act on fuel tax first before wage hike. Okay, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Okay, Joey Concepcion said, we all have to wait for the government to do something about the fuel tax before we can even talk about wage hikes because nag-uumpog ang bato na po. On one side, you have people who are clamoring for wage increases regardless of the fuel price kasi yung pong wage, living wage at minimum wage, hindi na po mag-aabot. Okay? Yung nakukuhang minimum wage ng karamihang Pilipino, hindi na kaya nilang bumuhay ng tao o pamilya. Mismong si Secretary Bebot Bello ang nagsabi niyan. Okay, that big picture. In the middle of the Philippine Star front page, firefighters from the Bureau of Fire Protection, NCR, participate in a rescue and transfer relay during a skills challenge held at the BFP Regional Office in Cubao, Quezon City. Comment ko lang po dyan, bakit ba kung kailan Fire Prevention Month, doon madami ang sunog? Siguro dapat ilipat natin ang Fire Prevention Month, okay? Para pagdating ng March, marami nang na-inspeksyon na naturuan para hindi pagdating ng Marso, nagkakasunugan barangay. Okay. BIR raises 45 billion from online sellers and influencers. Maganda po yan. Kumita na ang BIR sa mga online sellers and sa mga social media influencers last year. But the lawmakers demanded the agency improve its efforts to capture all players in the digital economy. Siguro dapat ang kinakatok ng BIR ay yung mga incorporators and investors diyan sa mga iba't ibang isabong. Okay? Kasi yan po yung mga tinatanong ng mga viewers natin. Okay. BBM Sara keep wide lead. According to Pulse survey, based on a survey they did in February. Okay? February 18 to 23. Ay ano ba ngayon? March 15 na po. So 1 month old, almost 1 month old na yung survey ngayon pa lang nilabas. Okay, so sinasabi ko po yun kasi baka yung iba sa inyo dyan akala ginawa kahapon. Hindi po. 1 month ago. So huwag kayong basta-basta naggagawa ng desisyon base sa survey na ginawa na 1 month. Kumbaga, kung sa kanin, ano na yan, fertilizer na yan. Okay, Commission on Elections Chairman Saidamen Balt Pangarungan leads the inspection of vote counting machines for dispatch at the poll bodies warehouse in Santa Rosa, Laguna. Yan po, no? Nag-i-inspection sila, tinitingnan pa nila yung mga sample ballots or printed ballots in preparation for the coming election. Eto na naman tayo, dyan po sa Sulu naman. Dati sa may bandang Subic, bandang ano ba ito, Sambales, nagkakapormahan yung mga Chinese vessel at yung Philippine Bangkas. Aray ko po. Ngayon, sa Sulu, iba na ang usapan. Okay? Pinatawag, the Department of Foreign Affairs summoned yesterday Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian over the People's Liberation Army Navy vessels' illegal incursion and malingering presence in the Sulu Sea. Doon naman sa Sulu Sea, pinormahan naman sila ng Philippine Navy. At sinabing, ano ginagawa nyo dyan? Please indicate the purpose of your presence. Oh, we are innocently just passing by. And sabi ng Philippine Navy, that's interesting. It takes you 3 days to pass by. Okay, ayan na po. So yun, pinatawag ng DFA yung kanilang ambassador. Last but not the least, Secretary Senator, hindi po ako nagpapatawa, nagkamali lang talaga. Senator Franklin Drilon has called on the newly appointed COMELEC commissioner, okay, to please, resign your appointment. Okay? Ito pong si Commissioner Amy Torrefranca Neri. Okay? Senator Drilon has called on COMELEC Commissioner Amy Torrefranca Neri to resign the presidential appointment because of a claim by a lawyer that the COMELEC commissioner received a 10 million peso bribe in connection with a case involving a drug dealer, okay, Herbert Colango. The claim of lawyer Ferdinand Topacio is that they gave, or that Neri received 10 million to fix or work out the case of Colango. But when Colango was indicted and convicted in 2018, Neri allegedly returned the money minus 3 million. Kumbaga, binigay daw nila 10 million, ang binalik 7 million. Okay, and that based on reports last night was also mentioned or supposedly said by a relative of Colango. So ayan na po. That's the news on the front page of the Philippine Star. Medyo pasensya na po if I'm excuse me if I'm going English Tagalog because clearly Cignal TV is all over the Philippines. Buong bansa po yan, even OFWs abroad who watch us on Facebook, our kababayans in the US, Canada watch us on Facebook. So there's still that pressure na please, para naman we're reminded of our native land, try to stay ethnic, not elite. Okay. Anyway, today we are, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to travel but are shocked by, oh my gas, ang taas ng price, or you're kind of worried because you have 3 kids and you can't afford, 2 rooms in a hotel, etc. There is a new trend. Actually, it's become so popular as so many people keep talking to me about it, and you don't necessarily have to be rich. Kasi dito po sa Pilipinas, many of us are now driving SUVs, crossover SUVs, kumbaga, kasi ayaw nang magkotse. And this was shared to us by Japanese executives, automotive executives, who made this forecast many years ago, pre-COVID pa lang. They told me, Cito, gone are the days that most of the vehicles on the road in Asia or Southeast Asia are sedans. They are slowly but surely shifting to SUVs, mini SUVs and pickups. And why? Because the Asians have become smarter and more practical. They want a vehicle that is reliable, that has space, that is multi-purpose, meaning pampamilya na, pang negosyo pa, pang biyahe, pang karga. So having said that, we now go into this situation where many of you, after 2 years of being incarcerated, particularly us who are senior citizens and those of you who are 18 years old and below, we have now been given our liberty passes, allowed to travel, but you're wondering, paano ang mahal na ng gas, ang mahal pa magturista? But our guest for the day, Chief Adventure Officer, Overland Kings, Overland Kings, the second generation of Pedros, Pedro, that I will now be interviewing. We have Joel Conrad Pedro, Chief Adventure Officer, Overland Kings. Joel, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kuya Cito. It's such
Okay.
a thank you for having me on the show today. It's really a pleasure.
Buti na lang tinawag mo akong kuya. Good thing
Kuya
about because if
lang.
you called me tito or tatay, that will be the end of our relationship, our brief relationship. Okay. Anyway, Joel,
Yes,
uh,
po.
the headline today, oh my gosh, ang taas.
Oo nga po.
And people will probably say, Kuya Sito, you are mean, you are cruel, you're still talking about tourism and travel, but
Right.
you and your company and your group and your community yan, dami nyo na, di ba?
Yes, po.
Have something to offer Filipinos that they may not have considered. Can you please make kwento? Tell us the
Sure.
story of this camping on wheels program or adventures that you guys have gone into.
Right. I think the term you're talking about is called overlanding. So it's been, I think, one of the most catchy words for 2021, 2022. Just like you said before, when we camping, basically you just bring a tent, diba? Backpack,
Mm.
and then you go up the mountain, and then you're done.
Mhm.
That's really what camping is about. But what this new trend that's coming out, what I like about it, overlanding is a family-related activity. So you can bring your family in your car, and then you can go to a destination. And then once you reach a destination, syempre, when we upgrade or we get a little older, sometimes the purpose of getting there is we add a little comfort to that camping experience. So the term glamping. So we have the tents, the awnings, and you can bring your cold drinks or whatever suits your adventure. So that's basically, in a nutshell, vehicle-dependent glamping. Yun yung how we define overlanding po.
Okay, now let's address the many concerns. Kasi I already explained and I hope Filipinos realize na hindi na tayo gumagamit karamihan. Na a lot of people don't use cars anymore. They use either SUVs, mini SUVs, crossover versions, or mga pickup. Now,
Yes.
okay, so may pickup ka o meron kang, sabihin natin, Montero, for instance, ngayon, o kaya, ano ba, o sabihin mo na, maski na yung sa akin, Rebo, di ba? May Rebo ka. What is the next step for people to set up for overland, tawag mo doon, overlanding? Ayun.
Yep, overlanding po. Usually when I recommend that, I have usually three basics that I try to recommend. So number one, I say some sort of shelter. So maybe some side, doesn't have to be all expensive, like you said. An awning is a very nice upgrade. It's the side awning that you put on the side. Mm-hmm. So that gives you the shade. And that's practically useful for any adventure. Pwedeng biking, pwedeng running, pwedeng even if you're just backyard barbecuing. So an awning is a nice essential. That's number one. Number two, maybe some sort of power. So when I say power, nowadays kasi when you're off-grid, you like to be able to stay out longer. So power, like meron na tayong mga lithium power packs, from the basic small ones all the way to the big ones. Kasi some people just charge their cell phones. So we have smaller power packs so that you can still work off-grid. Di ba? Uso ngayon yung just bring the internet router.
Naaliw ako sa kwento mo, Joel. Kasi alam mo, panahon namin, dadala ka ng Motolite battery na extra. Tapos magdadala ka ng Petromax. Tapos magdadala ka ng uling. Yun ang power namin. Tapos yung sinasabi mong awning, which is actually, I think this is a retractable connection. Trapal na nahihila at automatic na nagtitiklop. Panahon namin, tinatali namin yan ng straw. Okay? Tapos may bato. So, social na kayo, ha?
Essentially, it's still the same concept. And I think siguro what the technology has progressed on with the camping is our goal is to make it as efficient as possible. Meaning, kasi di ba, if we bring so many things when you go out, sometimes the hardest thing is pack down. Yung pauwi ka na, everything's dirty, you want to pack everything in, that takes a while. So what this vehicle-dependent gear actually reduces that time. So yung mga awnings dati, kailangan pa itupi lahat ng awning, yung mga ground tent, okay lang naman pero takes a lot of pack down. These things that we're putting on, for example, our roof tents pack down in 2 minutes. And then the awnings pack down in 30 seconds. So we're trying to give the lifestyle a boost para labas tayo ng labas na, hindi ka tatama rin to go camping. Kasi some people when you mention nga, 'di ba, the old notion of camping, shacks, or am I gonna be not comfortable? Is it gonna be miserable? So actually it's the opposite. You bring all the food you like because we have freezers. So you can still bring your your adobo, your pork chop, your steak, your wine.
So you have generators. You still bring power generators.
No. Right now, kung dati, Motolite na malaki, ngayon, the batteries have moved to lithium. Basically, AGM and lithium, similar to your cell phone battery. So what that means is you can last overnight kahit na hindi sobrang laki yung battery mo. And then those things, you can plug your, your gear. The freezer is 12 volt. So you plug the freezer to the car or to that power pack and you last overnight. So hindi na kailangan ng genset po.
And then to recharge it, gumagamit kayo ng mga solar panels.
2 ways. So the portable power is solar panels, or we use that's where our setup comes in at Overland King. So we can make the dual battery system for the car and we tap it through your alternator. So when you're driving, since traffic, malayo, nagcha-charge na po yung battery natin.
Okay. So yung kotse ang generator charging unit. And then siya pa yung but let's go to the basics. Okay, so kailangan mo ng awning, trapal or lona so that you have shade. Number one.
Right.
Number two, you have to have your portable power packs like lithium battery packs, or you have your Motolite, you have your generator. Kasi I'm mixing it up na, Joel, if you don't mind, because we want to encourage Filipinos to be aspirational as well. Diba? Yes. Okay, so kumbaga wag niyong isiping poor kayo. Kahapon pinagalitan na ako ni Lord kasi sabi sa akin ni Lord, pag anong binigkas mo, what you say you give life to, and if you keep saying you can't afford it, you'll be poor. So ayan, ayoko na niyan. Okay, so anyway, so you have your power pack, you have your awning, ano pa?
Awnings po. And then you can have a tent. So pwedeng roof tents po, or you can go with your ground tent, maybe your camping tent that you had lying around. Pwede rin po yun. And then it's just trying to mix certain gears together. And lastly, of course, we got to have the food. That's why we have the freezers, we have the cookware. We still use Super Kalan, by the way.
Okay.
I don't share that too much. It's not as cool, pero yes, I still use that.
Hello, dapat lang.
Social bring your Coleman or Kobe, di ba?
May camping bang walang firewood o walang fire, hindi ba walang cooking by the fire? Hello.
Bonfire.
It's not camping if there's no bonfire, okay?
Agree.
Anyway, so
bring the people you like, kasi at the end of the day, no matter how nice your gear is, pag yung kasama mo is not garang ganito, hindi masarap yung kwento, wala di ba? Hindi siya masaya. So I think the essence of it is being able to build relationships, especially nowadays with a safe bubble with your family or close friends. So usually it's like 2 to 3 cars. I go a lot with Kuya Sam. Of course, you know him.
Sam Luzon of Concept Cars.
Right, Concept One, yes po. So
Concept One, sorry.
Yes po. So yung mga kuya ko yan So I like hanging out with these guys. Because,
okay. Alam ko yung Sam Luzon, maarte yan gusto niya laging hotel. Paano
nag-overnight na yan.
No, good time ko lang si Sam. I'm sure he'll be watching this, but how do you convince people? Because honestly, even my wife, I love my wife. She has lived the better part of her life here in the Philippines, and she has taken baths in mountain springs, nagbabangka, kubeta niyan sa may ilog, etc. But she says, I'm too old to go for those camping things with Sam and with Joel. And many of the women, of the wives, well, of course, we are much older than you guys. Yes, how do you convince people, especially the women, to go camping? Parang, hello, Mako, ano pa makakagat sa akin dyan?
That's the third one, no? The third one is some sort of water source. So we have portable toilets that we bring because that's the first question usually that how do we do our number one, number two? So the gear has come to a point where the portable stuff, even for doing number one and number two, is actually doable. Na you don't have to dig a hole in the floor anymore if you're going to remote sites. But I'll tweak it, Kuya Sito.
Mm.
The one thing that happened with the pandemic is also a lot of resorts within Tanay, Rizal, Cavinti, Laguna, Batangas. These are within striking distance of Metro Manila within 3 hours. So this way of traveling has become an acceptable way. And it's not very expensive, like you were talking about.
Mhm.
Some resorts just cost like 1,000 to 2,000 pesos, and you can park your car, and they provide the toilets and facilities. So you use your tent. You can
Mhm.
sleep on your ground tent or your roof tent. You can do your barbecue, your bonfire, but use the facility of a resort designed for camping, and you'll have hot shower, clean toilets for number one and number two, which is how US and Australia does it with their RV parks, di ba,
Well,
or caravan parks.
that's the new model Airbnb. In other words,
Yes po, without the rooms. So that's
campsites.
campsites po with clean toilets. So
But
sobrang dami po ngayon yan.
and that's good to know. Now, pakikwento mo lang, Joel. Now, kindly repeat that. What are the areas that have this? Because I think the Department of Tourism is missing something there.
Right.
That can be so Filipino, still added income to resorts. Because as you know, I was a resort developer in my past life.
Oh,
And every centavo that comes into the facility, whether it's just a sandwich that you sell or bumili lang ng soft drinks, nakakatulong sa operation ng mga resorts yan. And having a combined concept of we have a resort but we also operate a campsite, 1,000 a night, ay malaking bagay yun. That is smart tourism.
yes po. So kanina let me just also put it in. The nearest locations are Tanay,
Okay.
Rizal, Laguna, and I'll tell a good story. Like during
Hmm.
the pandemic, um, our family helps a lot of the deaf school, and this is in Cavinti. It's called the Deaf Evangelic Alliance. But to make the long story short, we recommended to the nonprofit organization to put a camping resort. So it's called Silent Sanctuary Reserve Campgrounds. And it's been running since the pandemic 2020. And they have a beautiful lagoon there. And I locked down myself there for a month during the lockdown.
In
And I just
Cavinti.
in Cavinti po, we stayed
Yes.
in the roof tent, and I stayed on our gear for a month with the whole family. We were just swimming in the lagoon, just enjoying the outdoors during the whole lockdown. I mean, it sounds crazy, but we really did that last year, and it was one of the best times,
Eh
and
hindi ba yung asawa mo Tisay?
uh, adventurous naman po. Yes
Hindi.
po.
But she's Tisay, right? I mean,
Yes po.
half
Yes, my
American,
wife's
half
American.
Filipina, the daughter of Peter and
Fiona, yeah.
yeah, Fiona Tanchi.
Yes po. Yes po.
Eh,
Yeah.
I love the family. Pero how did you get her to go out there parang and with the kids, ha? Kasi alam mo
I have up to a 1-year-old. I brought in my 8-year-old, 6-year-old for it. We stayed there the whole time with my dogs, and it was a
Mhm.
spectacular time. We wake up every afternoon bonfire. In the morning, we swim in the lagoon. That type of a lifestyle, and at the same time, it's a non-profit. Because all of the proceeds we pay there go to the deaf school. So it's
Mhm.
kind of our give back to the community, and the school actually benefits. So there's stuff like that. And I think there are a couple of more sites around, like Beach Garage Campgrounds in Batangas, Camp
Mhm.
Boa in Camp Boa, and of course Jungle Base, our favorites.
Mhm.
Yan yung mga nauuso na campsite. And Campwell, these are Viewscape. These are all popular places that have been popping up because of the pandemic.
Okay. I want to finish up on the camping gear, the setting
So,
up, the real requirements. Let's do two models. One model is a minimalist model. The other is a, Overland King model. Okay.
okay.
And then let's go from there. Let's go to how others can develop these campsites. What are the requirements of campers? Kasi marami tayong viewers all over the Philippines
Right.
and even people abroad who can bring home their ideas, their experiences, and do similar businesses. So, minimalist approach to being a camper on wheels.
Yeah.
What are your suggestions for them?
Okay, number one, start with what you have. Like you said, a lot of Filipinos own a crossover, or let's just say an Avanza or an Innova or a Hilux 4x2. There are a lot of places right now that are 4x2 accessible. So start with what you have. Go out because some people prefer the cooking part. So bring your. So some people prefer the camping part. Yung iba kape lang. Yung iba just chill by the bonfire. So start with what you have. So the basic model, I'd say, I'd still recommend an awning, whatever the case is, because it's
Mhm.
not very expensive. It's like when relative, it's a 14,000 more or less around that price range. So
Mhm.
that would serve a lot of purpose, and then go with the gear that you have. Have a sense of adventure, and then
Mhm.
the second model is, I would say, invest on a 4x4 vehicle, whatever brand, or at
Mhm.
least a all-wheel drive, because some locations like Lingayen, last week we were in Pantabangan, Nueva Ecija, or Botolan, Zambales, or Sagada. There are places here that are only 4x4 accessible. Or nauuso ngayon, Lake Mapanuepe. It's been a very, very popular site.
Where is that?
Lake Mapanuepe is Zambales. This is
Okay.
San Marcelino. It's around 3 hour
Mm.
drive, more or less. Pero very, very popular, very exciting because you see pine trees and there's a lake. And for the adventurous guy who are car guys like us, may konting sitwasyon sa trail, right? Enough
Mm.
to get your heart beating. There are river crossings. You have to engage 4x4. There's I guess that's part of the fun of the more overland king style setup. And then
Mm.
everything I mentioned a while ago, maybe invest on a roof tent. Uh, the brands are so many nowadays. There's iCamper from Korea, Alucab.
What is the thing with the roof tent? Okay, but let's go for a quick break, Joel.
Yeah.
When we come back, can you please explain that concept or that idea of the roof tent? Kasi may mga nagsasabi, nako po, baka lumubog yung bubong, nako, siguro kailangan yan, special equipment, etc.
Yeah.
We'll go for a quick break. When we return, let's talk more about overland camping or camping on wheels, both for the regular guys, low budget, and for those of you who really want to get into this because the money you put into a very, very expensive exclusive resort might pay for the entire setup. We'll go for a break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, your Kuya Cito Beltran, and thank you for joining us this day, the 15th of March, if I'm not mistaken. It's a Tuesday. Thank you also to PLDT for their home fiber optic internet. Okay, just so you know, our guest, Joel Conrad Pedro, is not just some rich kid who loves to go camping or sell camping equipment. Yung pamilya po nila matagal nang involved in Philippine society, helping so many people. They are the people, the family behind Lamoyan Corporation that was founded in 1988, successfully penetrating the monopoly or the cartel in foreign toothpaste products, coming out with Happy toothpaste. And they have been supporting 3 schools for the deaf in Cavinti, Laguna, another in Palawan, and another in Nueva Ecija. And their family is particularly supportive of handicapped people. So yun po, no? So hindi lang po ito good time. And now, even though we talk about adventure and good times, it is in the angle where you already have a vehicle, kahit pa fiera yan, kung umaandar at reliable, basta may spasyo, you can still use it, make it really nice as your motel, your hotel on wheels. Okay, let's go back to Joel Conrad Pedro. Joel, you were talking about ano ba yun? Roof tents ba yun? Kasi laging sinasabi, nako po kuyang, pag naglagay ka ng roof tent, butas-butas yung bubong mo after 1 year.
Roof tents, there's also a misconception about that. No? So I think it's good to know what the manufacturer weight is. So, when we outfit a vehicle, that's the first thing we check. Load limits are very important. What we try our best to use Australian specs and quality gear. I think that's where the difference is. And so let's talk about roof racks. So roof racks are usually aluminum, the ones that we use, because we try to go as light as possible on the roof so that we don't overload your top. Top heavy driving, always not a good idea. You would know that, right? So a roof tent is roughly between 45 kilos to as high as 85 to 90 kilos, depending if it's a hard shell or a soft shell roof tent. So to mount these roof tents, you'll need a bar that goes on top of the vehicle. Most modern SUVs will have some sort of rail on the roof. And the manufacturer spec ranges between 75 to 90 kilos ang load limits. So these load limits that are given usually are dynamic load, meaning it's the moving load of the vehicle. So we try to stick within those parameters. And if you need to carry heavier gear, then there's also a heavier style of roof rack where we, like front runner, then we need to put new brackets into the roof so that you could carry more weight without compromising the safety. Yeah, so that's the essence of the roof rack.
So ang rule dyan, mga kaibigan, those of you who want to talk or think or consider roof racks, the rule is essentially those who are light enough to get to the top of the car can stay in the roof. Okay?
Pero, or if you don't need to come down for a pee at night, yun.
Yung mga hindi kailangan umihi, hindi senior citizen na niya pupunta sa banyo, if you are the type or you are as heavy as I am, stop dreaming, okay? Get the tent and stay on the ground, okay? So you have the roof tent, you have the awning. Now, yung sabi mo kanina, the awning that you guys provide or you sell are the the expensive model. They are the top of the class units that you pull out, automatic, retractable. Pero doon naman sa walang budget, pwede trapal lang at saka nylon, talo-talo na yan. The idea here, ladies and gentlemen, please, whatever your situation is, if you have a car, if you have an AUV or SUV or pickup, if you have a family and you all want to travel, at least attempt it, and don't say, I can't afford it, we don't have money. This is what our agenda is, to be aspirational, to give you ideas. Pwede pala yung ating, ano ba yun, merong mga ginawa dating mga AUV na pagkahahaba. Sabi ko, kahit 2 pamilya, kasya dyan eh. So, just go for it. Okay, so what else should our viewers consider, Joel?
Aside from that, just be ready for mga abirya, no? Kasi I think part of the gear that we need is also, let's talk about a little bit of recovery. So also the part of things we have to prepare for when we go out, especially if you're going to a more technical place, is we need recovery gear. I cannot stress that enough. You've seen situations where you get stuck and you don't have a way to get out. Bahala na, that's not a good idea. It's at least have a rope and a shackle, or we call it a snatch strap, so that at least if someone's gonna pull you out, you also hindi mo rin aabiryahin yung tao na hihila sa'yo. Tapos siguro, Kuya Cito also mentioned a little bit of some camp etiquettes that I think are quite useful nowadays.
Perfect.
Okay lang ba yun? Kasi parang sometimes kasi, it doesn't mean when you go out and you pay a small fee for the resort, you do anything you want. Sometimes we have to. So our first rule of thumb is don't leave your trash, right? Leave the place as nice as you see it, because if you discover a wonderful waterfall, if you leave the trash, and then some other people comes, then they'll see the trash, right? So,
kumbaga, you're being so nice and being so educated about it. Mga kaibigan, mga kababayan, wag po kayong baboy. Huwag kayong mag-iwan ng kalat, basura at dumi ninyo kung saan kayo pumunta. In fact, I was, I took a trip to Sweden by Rojas Boulevard yesterday. Alam mo ba kung saan yon, yung Sweden by Rojas Boulevard?
May aristocrat ba yan?
IKEA. I went to IKEA yesterday. And doon merong sign. Meron pang sign nagsabi, why it is good for you to clean your table. Kasi in other countries, baski na sa restaurant po, may mga lugar na bring your own trash to the trash bin. Wala po silang ng mga tigalinis ng mesa. Kanya-kanya pong linis. So, in camping, huwag kayong maging baboy. Itapon ninyo yung basura. In fact, in some areas, they tell you not to leave your garbage. You put it in a bag, in a tight bag, bring it home with you. Kasi wag niyong iwan dito yan, because pag nag-iwan kayo ng dumi sa isang campsite, I'm just talking about kitchen trash, paper towels, soft drinks, etc. What happens is, if there are 100 of you in 1 week, they're going to need a place to bring the trash. So, don't leave anything, sabi nga nila sa Boracay, except good memories.
Yeah, same yan.
Okay.
So, and then number 2, we always try to advocate, keep the noise down at night. Kasi it's good to have fun, pero you gotta consider that we're all sleeping in tents, right? So, yung tent, walang pader yan eh. So, yung kumbaga, if you're sleeping with your group nga, you know who sleeps the loudest and you know what tune he sings on during the night, diba? so we try to keep the noise down, or be considerate na lang. I think the term, be considerate to your fellow campers on the side, diba? So kung magkakaraoke ka, kung type mo talaga yon, shut it down by nighttime. Don't keep the whole campsite awake, because in a mountain, yung sumigaw ka lang hanggang kabilang buntok, rinig yun eh, di ba? So be considerate to the guys beside you. So yun.
Yeah, kasi in fact, when we went to Baguio last week, there were idiots inside the hotel doing karaoke and singing by the ledge, or by their, ano bang tawag nun, yung parang veranda sa labas ng kwarto. Pero ang ginawa ng hotel, 9 o'clock, shut it down. Kundi patayin namin kuryente sa kwarto ninyo.
Right,
so, but it's a good thing to remind Filipinos, kasi po mga kaibigan, sa probinsya, and I've become a provincial fellow this past year, and in the province, even here in my house, 9 o'clock, lights out. I will not entertain phone calls. We don't turn on the TV after 9 kasi we need to have a quiet time in our lives and wag be considerate. Tama yung sabi mo, Joel. Anyway, carry on.
Yep. And then one more thing maybe I could add is because I'm assuming that we're gonna go to a remote location, be considerate also to the locals because when we're traveling, diba tayo, we're playing around. We're using the vehicles, we're trailing. We always consider that with the places we're traveling to, like for example, that picture there on the video, the place you're going to, for us, it's a playground, but for the locals, that's actually their livelihood. So,
Mhm.
you try, isipin mo yung daan na dadaanan ng livelihood, tapos we destroy the trail. That's why we say tread as lightly as possible. If possible, don't destroy the roads. Just pass through properly and quietly. Kasi that's how they live, and then we're just playing. So that also encourages the locals to welcome us the next time we go back. So those are little tips that we've learned through the years. Na be nice to the locals and be kind to them and be considerate of them. It's always a nice thing to do.
Siguro dapat, alam mo, pag meron kayong camping community or group, magtayo kayo ng portable booth ba? Na yung makulit, yung naninira ng kalsada, yung bastos, yung makalat, okay, penalty, you go into the box. You spend 1 hour in the box. Naku, sabi siya, wag mo kong isasama, Joel Pedro. Pag sinama mo ko, sheriff ang dating ko dyan.
Let's go, Tito. Kuya Cito, let's go. You're gonna have fun, I promise.
Anyway, okay, so be considerate of the natives. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, may kilala nga ako eh. Bibili lang siya. He was just going to buy 1 piece of egg. And, he took a look at the person selling the eggs and it was the only thing they had to offer, nothing else. It was a remote location. Sabi niya, magkano ba lahat yan? Napatingin sa kanya yung tao, bakit po? Basta magkano lahat yan? Binili niya lahat pero hindi niya kinuha. Sabi niya, sige po, kahit kainin nyo na yan, at least kinita nyo na. Because, to us, as you pointed out, it's a playground, it's a vacation. Yung sa hotel, we have to give tips to the bellboy, to the housekeeping, di ba? To the waiter. Yan pong naman sa camping, yun yung mga waiter, bellboy, etc. They're the ones who will bring you the gulay, bring you the water, etc. So also consider them as staff of a non-existent hotel. Okay. Now, Joel, for those who might want to set up a campsite as a business, kasi malaking bagay yan, di ba? Na may campsite ka, pagkatapos pwedeng magstay ang tao. What are the requirements or expectations of Overland Kings?
We like campsites that are don't overcrowd your campsite. That's the one thing that we try to encourage the resorts, or don't pack. You don't want to wake up to another tent beside you that is 1 feet away that you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So try to give a little bit of breathing room, right? Not to just cram everybody in. That's one. Try to keep the place clean and have a water source, maybe, so that people can rinse down. I think that's a good minimum requirement. And the rest, have your own activities. Like some people just have a view, some people have a trek. Some people bring their mountain bikes, or whatever your at sport is. Some people like to do trail running, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are good things that resort owners or people with properties nowadays. Ang dami bumili ng farmland saka ng beach, diba? So those are, keep an eye out for those things. Kasi some properties have those, some properties don't have those. Diba? Lahat ng tao farmer na ngayon, sabi nga nila.
Ayan. Yung mga kaibigan kong mayayaman na sabi, I will go into farming. And then they realize that farming requires work pala. Yan. Okay. So they can put up campsites.
And then for siguro I'll just push a little bit also. If you have campsites, do feel free to contact us at Overland Kings. We're happy to expand the community of overlanding, kasi I think it is a sustainable tourism thing for the Philippines. And I just want to also add in that overland is expensive, is something that you can change your mind about. If we stay in a hotel room, let's say you stay an overnight week vacation, which is normal for Filipinos, you spend at least 30K, right? on two rooms if you spend on a, let's say, a normal hotel in Manila, right?
Mhm.
So if you invest on a roof tent, let's say it's around 40 to 50K, that tent is gonna last you years, because I think what we have to also educate is our gear is not patapon. Our gear is designed to have warranties. It's designed to last you years, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes kasi it's not an investment. So we always compute it this way. Your roof tent, bawi ka na in 2 weekends, basically, staying in a high-end hotel.
Well, maybe you should do that, Joel. Okay. No, no, because seriously, I think you should do that. I think you
Yes.
should sit down with the DILG, sit down with the DOT, yung mga community ninyo, and let's push collectively for overland camping sites all over the Philippines. Kasi, alam mo, in fairness to the government and past administration, our RORO system, bagamat medyo it tries your patience at times, especially during peak season,
Yeah.
on a normal day, it works. They work, they're efficient, and maybe if the DOT and the DOTR can work out a system where overland campers get a discount in ROROs, and then at least a handful, if not a big group of local governments can set up campsites for automotive or overland campers, then we will be able to boost tourism. Hindi lang yung
I
puro
agree.
hotel. Kasi may mga lugar naman, we really need hotels. We really need resorts. But I think this is a game changer, and it kind of levels the field.
Yeah. I completely agree, because the Philippines, and in fairness to our government, have a lot of new roads, right? That whole build thing that actually encourages land travel. And I think for Filipinos, it's normal to drive, right? The first thing, paglabas ng lockdown, kahit wala tayong pupuntahan, you will take your car out, di ba? To drive NLEX or SLEX to have a cup of coffee, right? It's such a normal thing for us to drive. So just adding a destination and adding a little bit of fun to that with all our roads. You mentioned Roro. Wow, I'm so happy with that. The one, if any of the DOTR is listening, let's please connect Batangas to Palawan. That's the one Roro that's not available.
Malapit na.
Yeah,
Malapit na. Pero no, yeah, we'll have to push for that because I know Fastcra
yeah,
is going to go to Coron
right. It's Mindoro
sometime.
Coron.
Yeah.
Pero wala pa siyang Mindoro straight to either I want to go to El Nido or to or
Puerto
Puerto
Princesa.
Right, right. Kung meron yun, sign me up. I'm the first to go. That'll be
You
the
have not been talking to the right person.
I will talk to you offline.
Okay. Anyway, I guess that's about it, Joel. But I'll give you a few seconds to shout out to all our viewers to encourage them to just go overland and go camping.
Yeah, to the guys who are watching, Agenda, if you haven't tried overlanding, it's something that's fun for the family. Everybody's invited to do it. Try it out. You never know, you might like it. It's not as expensive as you think. And if you need to do check us out. I'll do a shameless plug at Overland Kings quickly, and you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And we also encourage the community, so you can just ask us even if you're not setting up stuff. We're very happy. It's our passion. We're happy to tell you or share with you everything that we know, and even the sites that we want to. So yeah, thank you so much, Kuya Cito. Really a privilege to be able to chat with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Joel Conrad Pedro. And the office of showroom of Overland Kings is located at kilometer 15 West Service Road, Parañaque. The showroom features off-road and outdoor camping equipment and gears. Okay, para dun po sa inyo na talagang may balak na gawin tong matagalan. Because yes, if you go there, it's not going to be cheap, but you don't have to buy everything overnight. Little by little, konti-konti, and go the distance. Okay, now I leave you with the week's blessing, our blessing for the week from the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. The Lord your God is in your midst, a warrior who gives victory. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will renew you in his love. He will exalt over your loud singing. And I hope that the Lord continues to bless you, protect you this day. Maraming salamat po for joining us here on Agenda. Please keep it here on Cignal TV.